Good morning, good afternoon, good evening all, it's Bear here. And I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel, A Box with No Lid. A channel I've spent the last few years creating, exploring the narrative and the understandings and the reality, the lived reality of trauma, complex trauma, removal and placement trauma. The world that is adoption and the world that is foster care. From a real world and a real life perspective. Now, I draw upon my own personal journey and experiences as I am an adoptee and I was trafficked and sold as an infant, but I also draw upon my many, many years as an advocate and as a practitioner, all with this simple hope that not only just to bring awareness to the lived reality of this, bringing it down to the day-to-day understandings to support those that live this, but also hoping that you may learn or hear something here that will be supportive in your own healing journey, as so much of our healing comes down to what we do in the minutes and hours of our own personal life and journey, not in the few hours we may be able to spend in a therapist's office. Now, yes, this is the next video in the adoption series, and I'm also bringing into this year, as I've said in a few videos, the lived reality, a day-to-day scenario in the animation that's coming up, and how it plays out and the understandings needed behind it when this is either your experience or the experience of somebody that you know or is in your family or life. This next video is confronting. It is difficult, and it's a difficult one to show within the parameters that what YouTube will allow, so it doesn't get flagged and shut down. But it's also a difficult one to explain. Now, I've spoken with numerous people that come from this base and this base expression, and the way they start to explain things is very broken because it's literally fragmented within their own narrative because of what their response is. So the narration in this animation is broken. Much like it's just a very vague overview. I don't want to insult anybody who actually personally lives this. But I'm trying to demonstrate and show how fractured the interpretation is and the struggle people have in trying to control a response that is taken over, but also make sense of things and try to make it right to appease their trauma narrative, their survival state, and the rules as part of it. So be mindful, this video is a little triggering, but be patient with it and allow the understanding to grow as we go through the rest of this video. Hope.
I don't get it. Why does it always happen like this? It's like there's a scream inside me, a silent one I can't let out. One moment, I'm fine, or at least numb, and the next, everything explodes. Suddenly, I'm yelling, my hands thrashing, and the world becomes unbearably loud and painfully bright. All I want is to make it stop, to carve out a little space for myself, just for a moment. That's how another hole ends up in the wall, right next to all the other ones. A constellation of anger written in plaster and paint. Out there, I know they're talking, always in those low, disappointed, scared voices. I bet this time they will call the police. They said they would if I did it again, and here we are, I did it again. She will say, he's a danger, he's unstable, saying that makes me so angry, the way no one ever understands. Maybe you all had it coming, maybe I did too. That woman at the shop who moved too slowly, the kid who bumped my desk, even my dad when he just asked about homework, they didn't really do anything wrong. So why is this storm inside me? Where did it come from? I hear the whispers at school, comments slipping through the cracks. There's something wrong with that boy. No wonder his real mom didn't stick around. Such a shame, after all his new adoptive parents have done for him. The great rescue, the unwanted boy, the charity case. Saint Mom and Saint Dad, they wear their halos for taking me in, for putting up with me. But am I just proof of their failed kindness, the broken kid they have to manage? Why should I be thankful? My real mom didn't want me. Why should anybody else? I'm so tired of being angry, tired of the school's phone calls, tired of being Me, maybe they're right. Maybe I am a mistake, a messy, angry mistake no one can fix. Maybe this anger is all there is to me. Maybe it's the only thing that's real. This time I broke through. My hand's bleeding, but I can't even feel it. The anger, wherever it comes from, it's eating the house, eating me. And if I'm honest, I think I'm scared, really scared. What do I have to do to make it all stop? How can I finally find peace?
Hey yo. Yes, this kind of video is confronting. As I said, it is far from an accurate portrayal because of the limitations of, this kind of medium and what YouTube will allow and accept. There is far more graphic detail needed to give a more comprehensive explanation. But I wanted to use this as an example of, I personally know adoptees that have come from this base, and in my own adolescence, I associated with people that came from this base. And when you understand how threat works neurophysiologically, the basis of all we are, how our body's autonomic systems respond, when you come out of shutdown, you move through fight or flight. Now, children can get that trapped in the flight response or the fight response. In previous videos, it was flight. This video, it's fight. The reason they get stuck there is at a very young age, it worked. It stopped what they perceived. It was a solution that worked for the harm that was coming to them. It gave them control. It gave them a moment where, hey, I can control this and I can make my environment safe. The driving force behind all forms of trauma is the body will need to find a place of safe. Now that can be in fight or flight, that could be in freeze. When we learn things at a young age of something that works, we will repeat it, we will reinforce it. And if children that, for whatever reason, that response of acting out, of taking a swing, of getting violent, getting aggressive, doesn't get amended when you're very, very young, and this is quite common in the foster care system, they just get passed around. They don't get a significant person remaining steady in their life, building a connection and moving them from fight to a better state of being and working to improve their responses. They just get moved around. In the adoption scenario, you get the battles between parents and children and the children they have adopted that become physical fights all the way through, because the child has embedded, this is my only way of being safe. And the brain has wired that this is my only way of being safe. And when we have the neurophysiological, the neural culling, the parts of the body and the nervous system and the brain that we don't use get put to the parts that we are, that gets driven to where there is a hair trigger ingrained and embedded in the neurophysiology of that person, not in their cognitive stuff. This is not I am choosing to fight, they just snap. It is an instant response, and it is hardwired into their nervous system, into their physiology. You need to understand this to be able to work with it. Now, in past videos, I brought in MDMA therapy and things like that. You need to have external support to work with this, because in a therapy session, there is no way a therapist can push the buttons that need to be pushed to teach a different response, because the person is just going to respond violently. You cannot sedate to the point where they don't know their own name, because you're not going to work on anything. You need to work with that balance. But in children, when their ability to cause physical harm, like a 3, 4-year-old, 5-year-old cannot cause the physical harm to an adult that a 15-year-old can, you work with it then. You don't work to meet their fight with fight. You work to exhaust their fight and move beyond it. You show them that fighting doesn't give them safe. Fighting doesn't solve threat. Fighting only makes it worse. There is this is an individualistic thing, and there are so many parts that I want to say on this video that I can't because of the medium it is. There are ways you work with this where the alpha beta male, alpha beta female comes into play. You need to understand the biology of human beings and how our innate base brain structures work, because the base brain is completely in control here. There's loads of ways you can learn this. There's loads of information out there around this. But when you understand base human instincts and what puts a person into that as their core response, when you start to build an ecology that they need to participate in to be safe, not I can take it from you and I'll take it from you however I choose, but they need to participate to be safe, within the parameters that their response doesn't get them what they want, but it also doesn't reinforce the level of threat that they feel. You can negotiate and build a path out. A very difficult, takes a lot of resources, and it is really only going to be able to be workable when a person is young, very young, purely because the degree of harm an older person can do. You can work with it with an adult, as I said, but you're going to need to bring in something like MDMA therapy, not drug a person to where they're sedated. You need to remove the ability to slip into that trick, that tripped responsive fight. But they need to be close enough to it to recognize that it's there, and they need to be taught how to work with it. They need to see that it is not a solution, that it is actually harming them. They need to be able to work with their threat levels and bring it down to a place where that response is only used in the most extreme levels of threat, which is what it's designed for. When a person is under extreme threat, there is a point where you will fight the hopeless battle. The body is designed to do that for predators, that last-ditch attempt to try to stop a predator from turning you into a meal. Before the complete dorsal vagal shutdown, the complete processes of shutting down, trying to protect yourself, this is the part that is at play. If we understand the base brain and all the baser instincts of human nature and responses to threat, you can work with this. But to do that, you need to take a step back and learn them. There are loads of children in the system that have this response hardwired, more so than ever. There are loads of children that will never see adulthood because they try to fight a battle they have zero chance of winning. They'll pick on the wrong person that will, remove them from life, or they will spend their lives in prison. We need to get this one early, and to do that, I want to create the awareness and understanding of it. But I also want to create the awareness of what created it. When children are unsafe, when their home environment is not safe, the nervous system develops in threat. And as I said, we've got 3 pathways: fight, flight, freeze. And you will embed one of those 3 as a priority response. All of them can be worked with, the younger the better. As always, I love you guys' comments, support and feedback for the channel. Please be mindful, please be safe, please be respectful, and I will see you all next time.